Well, coming up, it only took one swing from the top-ranked player in the world to get the golf world buzzing last night. But what's the most impressive number Dustin Johnson's put up? It's DJ by the numbers.
That one swing just mentioned by Johnson, as you might expect, was with the driver in hand. We'll take a close look at what makes Dustin so dominating off the tee.
And a youth movement is afoot. Tonight, we're looking at the top 5 players in the game in their 20s, part 1 of a 3-part series.
And speaking of players in their 20s, you'll hear from the top-ranked American in the women's game. Find out what Lexi Thompson has been working on in the offseason to get her ready for 2018. All this right now on Golf Central.
Golf Central.
Are you kidding me? Was this any good?
Absolutely absurd. Par 4 12th, 434 yards. Dustin Johnson making it look easy with the driver, casually picks up his tee. And see where this ends up. Not just on the green.
Go in.
Nearly jars it. Would have been the second ever ace on a par 4 on the PGA Tour. DJ boat races the field at the Century Tournament of Champions to win by 8 shots.
I can't make a 15-footer. This guy's almost making it for
an eagle.
420 out. That's crazy. Let's get more in depth on Dustin Johnson and his record by the number, starting with Sunday in Maui, where the world number 1 earned his 17th PGA Tour title.
And this is truly impressive for Dustin Johnson. It's his 11th consecutive PGA Tour season with at least one victory, a streak that dates back to his rookie year on the PGA Tour.
And that's not the only impressive part of this victory, because it was the most dominant of his entire career, a whopping 8 shots versus a field that included every single one of the top 5 players in the world.
And to quote the unbeatable Wu-Tang Clan, cash rules everything around me, especially in Dustin Johnson's world, moving to 5th all-time in PGA Tour earnings, $49.7 million. He's now ahead of the Big Easy, Ernie Els.
Ridiculous. With that, we welcome you in, Lisa Cornwell, George Savaricas. Look, it's my first show of 2018. Happy New Year. It would be a lot better if I had the $1.26 million paycheck that DJ earned.
You wouldn't be doing the show with me.
I would. You're valuable.
I would take the $735K John Rahm pocketed for second, but that's just me. And here's second place. It's almost on its own island in Maui, as Rahm was 8 back of DJ when it was all said and done. After blowing out the field and putting on a clinic with his driver, here's Dustin Johnson in his own words.
I've been playing well all week, so I came out today. I didn't change anything with my game plan. I felt like I had a good game plan for the course. The wind's blowing in the same direction, so it's kind of playing similar as it has every day. And I knew I just needed to drive it well. That was my big thing. If I drove it well, it's going to play good, and I did that. And even making the turn, I think I made the turn at 20, and which I had a pretty good cushion there, but. I still, my goal was, I just told myself I wanted to get it to 25. So I didn't want to let up on the back nine, especially after what had happened in Shanghai. I had 6-shot lead, and just, it was a really difficult day, and I just didn't really putt well, didn't really do anything. I didn't do anything terrible. I just didn't do anything very good, and ended up losing. So for me to come out this week and, I got a 2-shot lead going into Sunday instead of, just barely winning, I won by 8. So, I definitely came out today with a lot of focus, and that, I knew I wanted to play really well, and I didn't want it to have to come down to the last couple holes. Especially just more for myself and confidence. Winning every year out here on tour so far is big for me. I mean, I'm very proud of being able to do that. It's not easy to win out here. The guys out here, especially even, it doesn't really matter. Any given week, anybody in the tournament can win it. It's not like a lot of these other sports where the number 125 guy is not ever going to beat the number 1 guy. It's just in golf. It doesn't matter. Anybody can win in any week, and so it's very hard. For the first few years, I guess I only had maybe 1 win. A lot of seasons I've only had 1 win, but last year was my most, and hopefully I can even better that this year.
Brian Bateman, maybe not the best driver of the golf ball in the history of the PGA Tour, but a really good iron player. How much was your check? $1.26 million when you won the Buick?
It was not over $1 million, we'll leave it at that. No. But it was a nice check.
All right, I'm not feeling sorry for you. Okay, we have seen a lot of great drivers in the game of golf over the years, but DJ kind of stands out. What do you think makes him so special, especially now?
Well, there's a couple of things about Dustin Johnson. I think his clubhead speed relative to how straight that he hits it. You know, at least in my opinion, I think you have to go back into the 80s when you talk about Greg Norman and the distance off the tee relative to hitting fairways. And I think Dustin Johnson, we're seeing that right now. And I think it all started when he started moving the ball from left to right, which that in itself, Lisa, we talked about that before the show, to make that decision, to change it. He was playing at such a high level to work the ball left to right. This is at the 2016, the final hole at the U.S. Open at Oakmont, and you can see aimed up the left side, hit the big power fade, because he knows he's eliminated the left side of the golf course, and that's a huge factor when you're trying not to miss fairways. Here's another one. This is the 12th yesterday. This is the drive that we have seen over and over and over again, and why not? 430 yards off of this left bunker. Most players are not even going to challenge that left bunker off the tee. Well, he catches just the right bounce, and this putt, this drive is rolling just like a putt.
It's ridiculous. And you mentioned him going from the left to right. He didn't lose any power, and it's almost like with that bowed left wrist, it really helps him control the face. It's fun to watch.
Well, it allows him with that bowed left wrist, he can really clear his body extremely hard and hold the face off. This is at the 14th. That's not a lot of room right there.
Yeah.
Up on the front of the 14th green to hit that power fade. No, he has not lost any distance. 375-yard drives. He hit 15 over 375 for the week at Kapalua.
It's ridiculous. Those are numbers it's even hard to calculate. Okay, so when we see him driving the golf ball like that, and you've talked so much about his short game being underrated, when he is at the top of the leaderboard in a tournament, the rest of the field chasing him, what's going through their minds? Because, look, you've experienced that. You know what that's like out there with a certain player named Tiger Woods.
When I was on tour back in the early 2000s, Tiger Woods was doing the same thing, dominating fields. And when he got up 2 or 3 shots after round 1 or even round 2, everyone in the field knew that Tiger was probably not going to back up. I know we've only had 1 week in Hawaii, but you could sense that some of these players might be feeling the same thing. Here's what some of his competitors had to say about dealing with DJ when he gets the lead.
I guess the most difficult part is, trying to stay within your own game, not play off his. You know, just when I'm playing well, if I'm focusing on my things and me versus the golf course, that's the best opportunity to capitalize.
I mean, what Dustin did today is pretty impressive, you know, with that rain coming in and out and the wind, the gusts gusting more than ever, you know, we calm and the next second we'll be blowing 20. So what he did, it was really impressive to be, you know, to take that advantage early. And none of us could really do much. I mean, I had a chance to go 3 under in the front 9 and I thought it was really good. He went at like 4 or 5 under. So that shows how good he played. That shows how good of a competitor it is. And, you know, he's sure taking advantage of his time. I mean, he is beatable. We all know that he is beatable, but it's really tough. I mean, it takes our A++ game to beat a guy like that.
The way the wind was blowing today, you know, he knocks it to a foot on 12 for eagle, and I'm having to lay up to 130 yards. I mean, it just he's very talented off the tee, and he used that to his advantage today.
I mean, obviously Dustin is very talented. He's the #1 player in the world, but I wouldn't say that I doubt myself against him. I know, you know, we can go play and have a good time. You know, we play a bit at home and we have some good matches. But no, obviously didn't play as well as he did this week, and he took care of business being up front.
It's like hearing some of the greatest batters in Major League Baseball talk about Barry Bonds during the day, and it really is true. They respect him, but they know that he's beatable. It's good to hear these guys talk about him and admire him, but also want to chase him and challenge him.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, these are very competitive players and some of the best in the world, but there's no question when Dustin Johnson's driving the ball like he is right now. We saw it from Jason Day a few years ago when he was driving it well at the PGA Championship. When you have someone that drives it so straight and so long and has pretty much eliminated the left side of the golf course, I think that's where the biggest asset for DJ is being able to miss it on the left-hand side or lack thereof. And these players are taking notice. This was a dominating performance, obviously, at Kapalua, winning by 8. This is the strongest field they had in almost 10 years.
Yeah.
And it was not even close.
Well, as you can imagine, we're going to be talking about DJ all throughout tonight's show. Speaking of great drivers of the golf ball, George Savaricas is with us.
Could you say that with less of a smirk next time, Lisa Cornwell?
But
I appreciate it. Such validity on that toss to me as she's seen how crooked I am off the tee. Hard to believe 2008 was when we first saw Dustin Johnson come on the scene. And since then, he's racked up W after W. Now, 17 for his career, second most of any player on the PGA Tour in that span. What really amazes me, Tiger Woods hasn't won since August 2013, still leads that list with 18 to his credit. Joined by my guys, Matt Adams and Jaime Diaz, more on Dustin Johnson's 8-shot victory at Kapalua. How do we soak it all in, what we saw from DJ over the weekend?
Where I would go was where you started the show, when you said it's been 11 consecutive seasons that he's won at least one event. When you take a look at that, think about the company that he's in having done that. Jack Nicklaus, Arnold Palmer lead the list with 17 years. Billy Casper was 16 years. Tiger Woods and Lee Trevino, 14 years apiece. Walter Hagen with 12, and then Dustin Johnson. So what I'm seeing here is a Hall of Fame career in the making. If he hasn't already done all that would qualify him for the Hall of Fame, he's right on the cusp of it. He said, and this is where I think if you're competing against Dustin Johnson right now, we just heard from some of the guys, right? This is what you have to be worried about. He was quoted yesterday as saying, "I've got no worries about where the ball is going to go. It's going where I'm looking," end quote, which prompts a question, I think, Jaime. When they're at their best, who is the best, right? I know that we tend to enthrone Dustin Johnson. When he wins, we think he's never not going to win because his skills and his gifts are that consummate. But I love what Rich Lerner said during our live coverage yesterday, where he said that he is the beauty and the beast. He's proficient with both the sledgehammer and with the brush. This is a player that not only has all those things that we talk about so much and been focusing on him off the tee, but he's got the gift of touch as well. It's a formidable combination.
Well, I think that's a developing area, though, still. I mean, I think he is the consummate driver. He's a historical driver. He's one of the best 5 drivers who ever lived. And he's in that Norman class now when you're talking about that. But I think the thing about the brush is something that he still doesn't have the level of a Spieth or a Tiger when he was winning. And that's what's kept him from really being dominant in a true sense at majors. The thing about Dustin, he's so gifted physically, he's an incredible improver. When he puts his mind to something, we saw this with the wedges. He was a weak wedge player, a pitcher of the golf ball. He has so many wedges, he figured out and decided, I want to be great. I got an opportunity here. If I get good with a wedge, I can start blowing people away. And that's exactly what he did. And at Kapalua, you have a golf course that was made to order. And I'm not taking anything away from his victory, but wide fairways, drivable greens, a guy in great flow. He's got a new driver he loved, and he just let it go with total confidence. And he was separating himself in a way probably that he can more than any other golf course. So it was really impressive. I think there's kind of a recency bias, as they call it now on these news shows. So we're going a little crazy. But he's definitely an all-time. He reminds me of Sam Snead. Not that I saw Sam Snead at his peak, but you read about how all the players said he's got the physical advantage. He's the athlete. That's what DJ is.
I think the difference, though, is that even when you're talking about Sam Snead, he started to win earlier, whereas Dustin Johnson, while he had these 11 consecutive seasons of at least one win, they're starting to come in bunches now. Yeah. And I think that's also going to translate to what he's doing in the major championships. Well, I think in a lot of ways he got robbed of that opportunity last year with the injury.
Probably. Although, the best he's done at the Masters is 4th. He's trending. He's 6th and a 4th. I still think a really fast, firm golf course where distance control and touch around the greens is absolutely paramount. That's still not his forte. So that's where he's got to evolve to, much like Rory, which Rory would even say himself. I won these wonderful majors. And when you were saying who's the best at his best, well, a guy won 2 majors by 8 shots. That's tough to beat. I'd have to go with Rory. But the main thing is Rory won when it was moist. And the ball, he could fly the ball and carry the ball. Running it, working it, chipping it off tight lies, making those 6-footers when they're really fast. That's the real challenge that DJ still has to conquer.
That's the next evolution. If anyone knows something about making a 6-footer, it's our Lisa Cornwell. Let's go over to the Golf Central desk.
That is not true. The PGA Tour announced today that Brad Fritsch has violated the PGA Tour anti-doping policy's ban on the use of performance-enhancing substances and has been suspended for 3 months. Fritsch self-reported this information after discovering that a supplement he was taking for weight loss had DHEA in it, which is on the prohibited list. The Canadian journeyman has acknowledged his inadvertent error and accepted his suspension. He will be eligible to return return to the tour on February 28th, 2018.
Folks, we still have a ton to get to tonight. Why the top 5 in the world all RSVP yes to the Tournament of Champions? The answer as to why Kapalua is enjoying a renaissance of sorts later. Speaking of top 5, we're doing our top 5 in their 20s. Jordan, Justin, Rory, Rahm. Who else is going to crack the list? Plus, what should we expect out of Lexi Thompson in 2018? You're going to hear from her. Stay with us.
Golf Central is brought to you by the Hawaiian Islands. Visit gohawaii.com/golf. Golf Now VIP. Say goodbye to convenience fees.